All right. Well, Deepak, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Gary. Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you. So, yeah, getting this thing started, would you be able to give us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So, my name is Deepak. I'm from India, basically, and professionally, I've worked in tech and marketing and oil and gas and stuff. But the more relevant background for this podcast would probably be my own self journey or spiritual journey, whichever way you put it, and that flows primarily from Advaita Vedanta. So, in case your viewers or you are familiar with how that flows, so at least in the Indian traditions, at the top are these two segments of texts called the Vedas and the Upanishads, and they are called Shrutis. And Shrutis are meant that they were not written by any man; they were revealed. So they are called Aparushyam Vakyam in Sanskritam, which basically means that they are the final source of knowledge, undiluted by man or thoughts. So in those segments, we have the Vedas, which were more ritualistic in nature, as to you do this to get that, and the Upanishads, which formed the core philosophy. And that philosophy is now which is more colloquially known as non-duality. So, and out of those Upanishads, the thing which where I come from is called Advaita Vedanta, and uh, Vedanta signifies the end of Vedas, so something which comes towards the end of Vedas, both literally, but also in terms that after you have tried everything by action, you realize that only knowledge was needed to remove your ignorance and hence suffering. And Advaita can be translated as not two or non-dual. So the philosophy, in a nutshell, comes down to the fundamental unity, or the fundamental existence is one, this one consciousness in which me and you and the objects and everything else, this body form or the thoughts or the objects are are pretty simply coming up and going down, but the background, the screen of all of that remains this one pure awareness. So that is the tradition from which most of my learning has been. But since I travel, I have been a part of different traditions: Buddhism, Tantra, some part of Stoicism. So what I do currently is I do these one-on-one sessions, which are called stillness sessions, which I work with anyone. And as the name suggests, we could stay silent, we could stay still, or people can ask questions, whatever is happening in their lives, and I try to uh, nudge them towards what the different or relevant philosophy would say. And apart from that, we do these residential retreats called Purnam, where Purnam again signifies the completeness, the wholeness, and this completeness is available, present right here, right now. And how can we come to experience it? Because usually we are just so lost in thoughts, and that remains our default structure, that mostly nobody's even aware that we are lost in thoughts. And to acknowledge that, and then to come to terms that there is an alternative to not being lost in thoughts, how does that come to be, and how can that then be implemented into our daily life? So again, broadly, this is where most of my work is, because uh, the premise here is that eventually every one of us is looking for happiness. Now, how we define happiness could be different. We might be terming joy or excitement or calmness, or we could be using different terms. But mostly everybody is feeling some bit of unsatisfactoriness in life, as if the present moment is not enough and something more needs to be done.
Mm,
So there is this sense of lack which drives all of us, and which is obviously not necessarily wrong, because ambition also comes from that. But how do we realize that this present moment on its own, just illuminated by the awareness or the light of consciousness, is enough? We are enough, and from that position of strength, we can keep working whatever our aims and ambitions are. So to take that premise that we're all looking for happiness, and mostly all of us are failing at it, and hence we look at different avenues, distractions, addictions, and even some more well branded ones, travel and hobby and singing and music, and we are trying various stuff to make us feel whole. But the claim of Upanishad, the claim of Vedanta, as well as the thing which we try to do in Purnam, is that you are already whole. And the only roadblock of not being able to realize that is primarily that we are lost in thoughts. And as we are lost in thoughts, we take ourselves, our this I, from the perspective of which we live this life. We take that, or we misidentify that with the prevailing thought. And how do we come out of that hamster wheel and realize, right, this open space of awareness from which a much easier life can be lived? uh, so again, I mean, for someone who's probably not familiar with the terms or terminologies, it might come as a radical claim. But whether we do it, so for example, in Vedanta, there are three kinds of maps or ways in which you can realize this truth, which are usually called Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhuti. So Shruti means that you just believe it because it was written in the Vedas and Upanishads, and you take that as the proof. But if that is not how you function, you don't believe in that proof, then the second method is Yukti, which is a logical understanding. uh, how could it be anything else? You sit in meditation, you try to observe your thoughts, and you see them coming up and going away, and they are coming up and going away in a space, and that space is really not a passive emptiness. It is filled with illuminance. So Yukti usually means a logical understanding of, I am not this, I am not this, so what am I? And then Anubhuti usually follows from that, which is experiential. So whether you do it via your faith in the text, or you do it via logical reasoning, uh, or you do it via your own experience, somehow I think most of us should be able to at least glimpse that there is an alternate way of living. And if we can glimpse that, it thereby becomes much easier to then transport it into our daily transactions, and which would then probably be the final measure of what we are doing. Are our daily transactions becoming easier? From our relationships to our work to our hobbies, like just how we wake up, how we sleep, are they becoming less strained? Are they becoming easier? Is more peace, love, joy, and compassion flowing out of it? So that would probably be in general what I do, what I learn, and then I try to work with others to just spread this knowledge.
Wonderfully spoken. Thank you for sharing. Wow. So, how do we start to walk the path of this seeing and then ultimately embodiment of this?
So again, I'll take the traditional way of Vedanta, which has this, well, almost sequential but not exclusively parts of Shavana, Manana, Nididhyasana, which means the first step is you listen to the texts. You listen to the text from a qualified teacher to just know what is being said. Uh, and the qualified teacher, again, the qualifications are very neatly mentioned. The person should not only be well read of these texts, but he should also be living it in real life. So just by rote learning, a teacher is not made. This this open awareness and the love, which is the direct output of it, must be visible in daily
Mm.
life. So that's the first part. The second part is, once you have listened and heard this entire concept that you are not what you think you are, you're not this body mind, you are this illuminated, never born, never dying consciousness. The second step is manana, which is contemplating on it. Does it make sense? Right? Okay, Deepak said something and Gary said something, but really, for my life, does it make sense? Is it helping me in my work, in my relationship? Could I align with it? And so that manana portion is the portion where you really try to observe it or come to it from different angles and see. And which is why I personally love Vedanta, is that it's not strictly a faith based methodology. There is a lot of logic inbuilt into it, and unless you are well aligned, you are convinced that this makes sense, it won't work for you, no matter who says what. So the
Mm.
second step of manana is actually, really chewing it. Does it make sense? um, and since there are, right, plenty of texts, so there are 10 principal Upanishads, but then there are lots and lots of different texts written by different people, and which approach it from different directions. So you could take that route. So the first step which I mentioned was shavana, which is listening. Manana, which is more of contemplating and seeing, is it making sense? And once these two are done, then you come to nididhyasana, which is broadly translated as abiding into that. So if you get a glimpse of it, then you try to take that glimpse and put it into your transactional life. So that is the traditional method. But a more practical one, which I have found to be more relevant for people in this generation, is is obviously listen to the texts, but also try to have some bit of immersion into it. Now, whether your work or lifestyle allows you a 3-day retreat or a 7-day or a 10-day or a month, doesn't matter. But some bit of immersion, at least initially, is required to give you the mental mind space and realize that, okay, maybe an alternate way of living is possible. Um, and the second pillar, which I believe is just the this thing which we call satsanga, or just the community in which you move around. Because if in 30 minutes or 20 minutes of your day you're listening to, I know, Buddhism or Vedanta or something else, and the rest 23 and a half hours of your day are going in a completely different direction, with different people who are speaking different language, who don't value these things, who feel this is just a time wastage, who think this is just fluff, nothing will come out of it, this is for losers or people who couldn't achieve anything, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
is going to be very difficult for you to move forward. So
Mm.
just the community in which you come up, right, where people, and by community I really don't mean the same tradition. That is not as important as it is a community of people who are interested in their own self growth. So people who want to be better for themselves and for everyone around them. So these two things of actually, trying, investing some time, and come to think of it, we have always invested time in our studies, right? We have invested 10, 20 years in school and college, and then we do our job. But somehow it seems very unwise to spend a prolonged amount of time into this self growth journey. So investing that time, then trying to implement into our daily life, and having this group of people, it may be one, it may be 10, with whom you can really share this path. And since I have had the, just the luck or the privilege of being into touching different traditions, I can definitely say by experience that it doesn't matter which tradition somebody belongs to, because all of these, at least the traditions which are coming from Buddhism or Vedanta or Tantra, most of the Indian traditions, the objective eventually is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Are you becoming a better person for yourself and for others? Are your daily transactions becoming better? Are you living your life with more ease? This strain with which we are usually living our day, and which has now become normalized, right? At least in the West, uh, this thing that anxiety is normalized, and then you go to a therapist, and a therapist has their own therapist, and the chain keeps
Hmm.
on going,
Yeah.
right? And again, this claim may or may not work for you, but to me, since the claim is so radical that there is a way to undercut all of your suffering in one blow of the axe, I think it's worth at least checking.
Hmm.
And again, this is I don't know if you're familiar with how Buddhism works, but all of these Indian traditions eventually come to the same conclusion, that your suffering, your dukkha, which is usually translated as being unsatisfied with the present moment, all of it is as a result of your ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of your true nature. So you have by mistake put your I identity label on something which you are not. And since you are this ever present, ever flowing, never born consciousness, and you have placed your identity to something which is ever changing, such as this body mind, or sometimes we invest every bit of our identity into a relationship or into a goal. If I get this job, if I get this house or asset, things which by nature have to change, it is this thing which keeps us into this this hamster wheel. We just keep on running. And
Samsara.
right, and since we never stop to think, and which is really it's unfortunate that this entire domain of spirituality has got such a bad branding or name, that anytime somebody says I do yoga, it's much less impressive than saying I'm running an Ironman, or right, I'm doing
Yeah.
kickboxing or
Right.
something.
Hmm.
And since we don't stop to think why we are doing what we are doing, and since society has given us such a nice template, right, it's such a rigid template that this is how a successful person in this world should look like, it requires an enormous amount of confidence in yourself to stop and take a look. What am I doing? Right? Is this what I need? And the the unfortunate part is that to get that confidence, you need this knowledge, and to get to this knowledge, you need that confidence. So we are in that circle. But I can look at my life, and I'm sure most of us can look and see that even the goals which we were working towards, or which we are working towards, are usually derived from looking at somebody else. So we
Hmm.
see somebody else, we see what they have, we superimpose us on their lives, and thinks if I had what that person has, I would be happy. And hence our goals just take on from somebody else's life, which is really not an efficient way of living, right? Unless you can be truly authentic of what do you want, right? It's very difficult to run your life in an efficient manner. That incident in Alice in Wonderland, where Alice asks the Cheshire cat, where does this road go to? And the cat says, where do you want to go? And she says, I don't know. Since then it doesn't matter which road you take, right? So we really don't know where we want to go, and hence we are just placing our bets, right? Sometimes that bet is on a job, sometimes it's on a relationship, sometimes it is on money, sometimes it is on hobbies, sometimes like, the more devolved forms of addictions, the micro addictions of Instagram reels and TikToks and all that stuff. Because in the end, since we are not able to arrive to a sustainable permanent source of happiness, these micro hits of dopamine are that's all we can get, and that is what we latch on to.
Hmm.
And again, to me, right, whether this thing makes sense or not, I think just that the entire claim that there is an alternate way of living should be incentive enough for us to try it out. uh, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and I want to echo your point of, well, first of all, that was well spoken again. It's an honor to do this with you. I didn't know you were so well spoken in this regard. Usually you're interviewing people, but I can tell you've gained a lot from your interviews. And echoing that point, there's so much value and spending time with people that know,
Yeah.
per se. I say that's one of the strongest practices, if you want to call that a practice, is just spending time with wise beings. And the fact is, we live in a time where really nothing is holding us back from doing that. You know, you can get on a call just like this and spend time, like non-locally, non-linearly. So I have found so much value in doing that, and I know you have as well. And it's interesting that you say that is the first step, right? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. Because I ask kind of all the same questions to people. It's like, what do we got to do?
Mm.
And yours was prescribed to be the first step is find the other wise men or wise women and spend time with them. Because I think, as you said, is we look for examples of how to be, or we superimpose ourselves onto others. But when you superimpose yourself onto someone else that is realized in some way, that is a very powerful practice for sure, because it lets you know what's possible.
Yeah, and just to add on to something which you said, that there is nothing stopping us to do that. So, I mean, if I would say who are the teachers from whom I have learned the most, none of them I have met, right, or even spoken to. So uh, there was, I don't know if you're familiar with Rob Burbia. He used to be pretty
Yeah.
big. He passed away
Mm-hmm.
some time back.
Yeah.
Rupert Spira,
Mm-hmm.
Swami Sarpyananda, who's I think in New York at the point, and Sam Harris, which I think you must be familiar with. So all
Mm-hmm.
of these people, right, have, and none of them I've spoken to, and none of them I've met, or I have a desire to, that kind of stuff, that I can go and meet and gain something, because in the end it is my practice.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Nothing is stopping us. The avenues are wide open. It's just this thing to take a pause and really, this acknowledgement that I am in a mindless race. And by no means it means that ambition is bad or working hard is bad. All of those are perfectly fine. But do I know what I'm working towards? And if I don't, uh, it's really not an efficient way of living. So something, sometimes it makes sense. And I mean, so I used to go to a lot of retreats earlier, and this happened, and I used to think that all I will learn will be from the teacher. And 9 times out of 10, I would be disappointed with what I've learned, and then try to again, not be that critical and say, no, maybe I was not ready. But at some point of time, I realized that the major value is from the co-participants. And
Mm.
and when I started going with that mindset, Gary, I can tell you, I mean, the learning which I started deriving out of these immersions, I mean, it just grew multifold. Because and there are various reasons for it. People in your circle, this community of people, right, they would be on different stages of their journey, but all of them would have implemented stuff which made sense. So it thereby became more practical. It thereby became something which had been tested and tried in a production environment. And and if in this community you find friends who are actually invested in your own growth, uh, there is nothing like it, right? it
Yeah.
just it just grows forward from that.
Power
uh,
in numbers.
yeah.
Quality and quantity.
Yes.
Yeah, I always say find the others.
Find the others. Absolutely, that's a good mantra to have. Find the others.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, echoing your point again of teachers not having to actually meet them, it's very
Mhm.
true.
Yes.
The teacher could be in a book. The teacher could be the Upanishads for sure. So
Yeah.
whatever resonates, I find this intuitive resonance leads the way for me, and whatever I need per se to bring me back to me, because I think
Mm.
um, that's the purest form of a teacher, is to bring you back to you. So whatever does the job in that regard, go with that.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. It's kind of funny because that's the purpose of finding the others, is the others bring you into you, and
Hmm.
then you find more resonance in the others that are into themselves. So it's this like self-perpetuating cycle of finding yourself in yourself that is in the outward self.
Yes.
Hope I made sense there.
I mean, this is one of the, the eventual conclusions, that in the end you realize you didn't have to go anywhere, right?
Yeah,
Finding yourself, you don't need to travel a distance in time, space, or objects.
it's the
But
irony.
it's the irony. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Now, is that the seeing that is, or at least part of the seeing is seeing myself in others, seeing myself in the water, seeing myself in the trees, and knowing that that is the holy vantage point, that is the holy perspective that alleviates our suffering?
I mean, that would be the pinnacle of everything we are trying to do. And
Mm,
as you know, and I know, it's extremely difficult to be in that place 24/7.
for sure.
It's but yes, if we can see ourselves, right, and by ourself we don't mean this limited ego, right, just this entire openness. And it's funny because sometimes people confuse this thing of, when the Upanishads say that tat tvamasi, you are that, and
Mm,
it seems to be an ego fueled claim, that, oh, how can you, right, equate yourself to God, or anything, any form
seriously.
of religion. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it is the ultimate dismantling of ego,
Mm,
uh, and it is the ultimate source from which compassion and empathy and joy can flow. Because as long as we are always in competition with the world, and not realizing the impermanence of everything we have attached ourselves to, it's a losing battle. uh, and no matter how much you achieve, and I do find it funny that all these, the billionaires and, like, people, so once they have achieved x amount of money, now they need more. Once they've got that, now they want to go to space, right? It's just a never ending staircase to desires. Because what do you do now? All those desires on which you had placed your bet, that, okay, this would lead me to sustainable ultimate happiness. And whether they articulated it in this manner or not, the the implicit goal was this: all we do is for our happiness, and all that everyone else is doing for that is for that. And now that you've achieved those goals, what do you do now? And hence they have to go further, they have to get more, and then people with money want to go in power, right? And now they have power, now do what? Now they have to go to space, and it just keeps on going and going. um, the consequences of which are not only individual, they are, they're more global, and they are more universal in nature. And whether we look at it in terms of what is happening in climate, or we look at it in what is happening in a lot of countries, a lot of it is because we are treating ourselves as an isolated being. um, and I think it was Alan Watts who said that the fundamental problem is that we think we came into this world, whereas we didn't come into it, we came out of it. So it's
mm-hmm.
just one consistent open awareness, and from that we are a temporary phenomena of which has taken this body mind, and we have attached ourselves to it. And it doesn't even make sense if you look at it from a more cosmological point of view. If you look at this earth, or the galaxies, or this entire space, right? The age of a human, right, me and you, what would it be, right? 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years. It's like a blip, and not even a
Yeah.
blip, it just comes and goes. And yet we place such an enormous amount of attention and effort in order to somehow think we can, make it worthwhile. And the definition of worth is again derived primarily from external validation. So in me, I can't feel I am worthwhile. It is Gary or somebody else who has to say, oh my, what a life you have lived. And all of that is flowing down again from the same initial problem of us being lost in thoughts and continuously being lost in thoughts and not realizing this is what is happening. And one thought gives rise to another one, and this it just keeps on flowing till the, you know usually the common entry waypoint into spirituality is some tragedy, is some major catastrophic event which just short circuits our normal way of living. And then we come to this scenario, and unfortunately, you can't, there's that idiom, you can't dig a well when your house is on fire, right? You have to dig it beforehand.
Oh
And now
yeah.
we find ourselves in this tumultuous, chaotic time, and
Mm.
now we have nothing to hold on to because all of our assumptions have been laid bare. So yeah, it's again, I mean, just repeating what I said, it's definitely something which people should, we do so much of different stuff, and I mean, just uh, maybe take a look at this. And anything, I think, right, whether it is the practicality of stoicism, or the, this the precise meditation techniques of Buddhism, or the intellectual sophistication of Vedanta, or just the, vivid imagery and practices of Tantra, whichever way you can, as you said, be more in touch with yourself, uh, all of them will yield to at least some benefit. And earlier when I used to run my podcast, now I name it Purnam or Simple Spirituality, but that time I used to call it a little bit of happiness.
Mhm.
So this is I think is that, everybody can be a little bit more happier no matter
Yeah.
where we are. And absolutely, life is tough, right? And it's not equal for anyone, right? So there are absolutely privileged people, uh, and there are absolutely people who have been dealt the wrong hand, right? Being born in a war strived country, or just, not having any resources. So it's not to say that all of these problems can go away with just sitting in meditation or reading a book, but there is something here which can be done. And wherever we find ourselves, there is a road open, which could allow us to live a little bit more easily, a little bit more lightly, and a little bit more happier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And none of us are immune to suffering,
No, no.
even though, right, we're in our comfortable houses right now,
Yes.
and I'm not suffering, but who knows what tomorrow brings?
Yeah, yeah. And this is again, all of us are living, right? No matter how much suffering we think, because everybody has some tension overhanging. All of us are living somebody else's dream. So at this point of time, you would be living a, I don't know, a billion people would give anything to live your life,
Yeah.
right? And we often lose track of that stuff because we only want to look, there is this mindset that whatever I have, I deserved it.
Mm.
And we don't look at it again. There is no gratitude or stuff, but now I want more, and why don't I have more? So all of these perspectives also start coming up when we spend some time, trying to get out of this circle of hamster is just running da, 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 da. We step out, and we can look at it a little bit more clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no other way.
There's no other way. No.
There's no other way to happiness.
I mean, sure, you can have temporary spikes of anything,
Yeah.
but and right, a spike will go down, right? You get to a peak, and a trough will come. This is how dopamine operates.
Mm-hmm.
You can have those hits, but right, and which is pretty much how, these uh, this entire phenomena of micro addictions of TikTok and Reels has come up,
Mm.
because now this is a, this is infinite scrolling. So these micro hit come and we scroll, and a micro hit comes and we scroll. It's a never ending thing.
Mm-hmm.
And right, and which is why it is so widespread to just at night lay in bed and just doing tuck 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 tuck.
Yeah.
Because right, this micro hit is, it just seems harmless, but if you look at it, it is one more addiction. It has just been made easier to indulge into it than alcohol or some other stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm. But they're all equal in the way of the temporary nature,
They're
right?
all equal, and they are all primarily created to distract us
Yeah.
from this question, from this feeling of lack. And as long as we are distracted, and which is why, somebody who's not meditated at all, they find it so difficult to sit quietly for 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 minute,
Mm.
because just this effort to close your eyes and do nothing, uh, it jumps. I mean, it's surprising that how difficult it is for many people, because we are not used to it. It's not been told to us or taught to us or even shown to us that this is a possible way to get to happiness.
Yeah. And that's the simplicity of it.
That's the simplest. Yeah.
It's
That's
almost
why
too
it's
simple.
it's called an open secret. In a lot of Indian texts, it's called an open secret. So
Ah.
it's a secret, yes, but it's right there and it's right in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
And the mere fact that it is so intimate to us is why we miss it.
Mm. Hidden in plain sight.
In plain sight.
Yeah. Hmm. Now, do you think the suffering or the micro addictions in whatever form they take lead us into the spiritual path?
I don't think so. I think just this, yeah, it's uh, I think in Buddhism they call it merit. And why do some people get into it and why don't others? I have no answer. But
That's a
uh,
big question.
yeah, it's and it's it's so often the people who are most willing to go to therapy are those who don't need it, and the people who most need therapy are those most unwilling to go to it.
Mm.
And it's the same thing here. The people who are into this more self improvement, self knowing journey are probably more stable and more calmer and less toxic in general.
Mm.
Uh, but I mean, just looking at the efficiency of micro addictions which we face each day, and looking at how society and everybody around us glorifies uh, doing anything apart from taking some time for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult to fall into it by chance.
Mm.
Which is why a lot of the times you find people, either they have been in touch with someone with whom they feel, okay, this person knows what he or she is saying and I should learn more. But mostly it is people who are facing a difficult life event which has shaken their assumptions, and then they come into it.
Mm.
And we are not even talking of the traps of this path, uh, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
all of us, I mean, the scandals of well known and presumably enlightened gurus and masters are, I mean, it's not hidden, it's everywhere. Or of cults, right? And just becoming, right,
Mm-hmm.
into an echo chamber, and right, just thinking that, oh, I'm on the right path, and yet still being in this disguised form of addiction.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not an easy path. But yet, as you said, the irony is its simplicity. So
Mm.
when you realize how simple it was for me to sit still, you didn't need. I mean, I didn't need anything to sit still. Uh, and had I only done that for a few days or few weeks, I might have glimpsed that this is a better way of living. But yeah, we get pulled in different directions, and uh, yeah, who
Mm.
gets it in the end is yeah. But I mean, based on my experience, I can definitely say that, again, there are another trap, by the way, is this. uh, is this ego boosting. So sometimes the more we learn, the only benefit which is coming is that I can tell you, hey, I know so much, Gary, right? I know so much better than you,
Yeah.
right? Whereas people who are actively interested in, really checking, uh, is this making sense? If I apply it, right, am I becoming a better person? And those are the ones which we need to get in touch with.
Mm.
Um, we often say in our retreats, there's the tagline is present, not perfect. And this perfection is, I think, a big issue because, right, all of these, a lot of this, I mean, I have no authority to comment on all of these, but right, most of these scandals which we see come because, right, the masters or the gurus have positioned themselves as being the perfection, right? They are the perfect example of what an enlightened being is.
Yeah.
And obviously, everybody is still human. So you scrape off the top packaging and you get to the human greed and all those stuff. So whereas if we were more accepting, or we had more acceptance towards imperfection, of failings, of missteps or missayings, or 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 just, right, being more open that even teachers are human, and being placing more uh, attention on being present in an authentic manner, right? It is much better to have a teacher or a friend who is conversing with you or communicating with you in a more transparent and open manner, and is okay to show you their faults, and it's okay to show you their journey where they are, and to show you where they still struggle with suffering. But a lot of the times we have been told that, okay, this person is perfect example, he or she is the perfect guru, and that is how we get into this trap of losing our way.
Hmm. Yeah. I find the best teachers are, well, first of all, funny, and they have a sense of humility to them. Like
Yeah.
they'll make fun of themselves sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where it gets tricky, right? So even if one is on the path, they are spiritual per se. There's even pitfalls in the spiritual path,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah. That's tough. Yeah. That's a tough one. Yeah. Again, that's why it's important to emphasize it is a solo path. You really don't need anybody else. Is if there is value found in the teacher or teaching, that's great, but that's a tricky line to toe,
Mhm.
I find. If the somehow the guru is implying directly or indirectly that you need them
Mhm.
to gain this insight, run the other way. That's what I
Yeah.
always say.
And I think recently it was Rupert Spira who posted this story that the culmination of this teaching is that you wouldn't require a teacher anymore. Right.
Yeah.
It's
It's like if
uh,
you see the Buddha, kill him. You ever heard that one?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. I feel that. Yeah, I asked that previous question of the micro addictions and
Mhm.
you know, the world of just endless attachment, we could say, because I think ultimately that leads to suffering. And a lot of
Yeah.
the sages say suffering is what brings us to God. So you still say that it won't, maybe not in this lifetime for sure, but eventually the calamity of our world won't lead us into the seeing for the collective. You know what I'm getting at here?
Yes. I see what you're getting at, and I mean, that has not been my experience.
Mm.
Uh, my experience has been that there are people who, I mean, the intention is still to be a good person, right? Whether they are able to do it or not. Uh, and so these micro addictions and all the stuff which we are doing, I don't know if there's a direct road from them to this path, maybe by just them piling on to us, and we eventually realize this is worthless, and maybe there's a side route to this one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's got to be a breaking point, right?
It has to be breaking point, yes. But see, this is the problem which we face, that there's a never ending path. So we were in school, and then we said, okay, let's go to college, and then let's go to work, and then get married and do this and this, and a bigger car, a bigger house. And if you're living in a, if you're living in a third world, so a lot of time in India, the goal used to be to eventually go to US and set up there.
Mm.
And if you're in US, then there would be some city which is the, I don't know which beach and where you want to be.
Yeah.
And from there, you want to have a summer home in Switzerland, which it just never ends.
Mm.
And in all of this, the bigger problem is that earlier you were comparing yourself to somebody else. You jumped a ladder. Now you're comparing yourself with somebody else. And it just goes on and on and on.
Mm.
I do hope that you're right? That this is it. It also leads to that. But the examples are, I have, again, looking around me, I live in a fairly affluent city in India, and right, there is no end to corruption. Right, so at some level you can understand, right? People who don't have food or shelter or clothes, right? You can still understand, okay, they have to do what they can to survive. But then you get people who have, right, just the sheer wealth is unspendable, right? Even if they wanted, they
Yeah.
couldn't spend it.
Yep.
And yet there is no stopping of, right? There is no semblance of empathy or compassion. And it's not only micro addictions, it has also been glorified,
Yeah.
that this way of street smart hustling, living, and taking whatever you can from this world is the way to live. And which is why, we come back to the original point. You need a lot of confidence to stand aside from the crowd. And how do you get that? Because uh, right, it's either you have, it's again, we come to those two methods. You get into this sort of a circle where you see people being just living better. They,
Mm.
they seem to be living a happier life, and not via their Instagram stories or stuff, right? Just you meet them and you feel the
It's the energy.
presence radiate. Yeah, yeah. And I've met such people. You meet them and you see the presence, you see the radiance,
Yeah.
and you want to be with them. And so that is one way. The other way is, these big life events, right? Which is why, for example, the stuff which you are doing, right? Hopefully somebody listens to these conversations, and they get to it, and they, whatever road they find, as you said, getting in, knowing more about yourself, hopefully they, right? Because, I mean, it is, from an individual level it is needed, but also from a global level it is, right? We need more people to stand up and say, no, I empathy is not bad, compassion is, right? It's
Yeah.
just been, uh, at least in a professional scenario, uh, right? If, and you say, I have empathy and I have compassion, right? It's, like, they might say, good, but on your face, but 99% of them would be saying, okay, this is not worth having a partner.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely difficult, but it's
yeah,
worth it. It's very well worth it. And it may seem like you're going against the grain too, especially in the beginning.
yeah,
It may seem like the crazy one.
yeah,
But the proof is in the pudding, and there are fruits of your labor, you can say. And the fruits are just undeniable peace and
yes,
happiness that one feels amidst the storm, amidst the darkness and the calamity and craziness of our world. And that, once you taste that, you
mm,
taste that nectar of peace, you don't go back. No
mm,
matter what's happening in your world, in your life, or what people say, or they think you're crazy, or whatever narrative wants to be painted upon you, it doesn't matter. It's like a suit of armor, you
mm,
could say, So yeah, I would just echo that point. It's okay to feel a little crazy. It's okay to feel like the black sheep, but as long as you know that this is it, you know, the path, the spiritual path is it, then that's all you need, you know, to be your compass, you could say, to traverse the world and all of
mm.
its comings and goings. Mm. Yeah, and it never ends too. That's the thing. It's the endless narrative of we're the crazy ones. You know, it's almost cool to be ignorant. Isn't that so strange? Like it's
Yeah.
cool to be ignorant and egotistical, right? So you're gonna appear uncool. You're the
Oh
hippie
yes.
in some way, the outlier. But I don't know. Eventually, you reach a point where that doesn't even matter. That's what I find, at least. It's like, dude, I don't care. And maybe it will be cool someday. We shall see. I don't know about this lifetime, but maybe being spiritual will be cool.
Yeah. It should be. Uh,
It should
it's
be.
yeah, it's definitely a cooler way of living, but
Yeah.
yeah, how it is perceived, yeah, it's different.
Like literally internally cooler,
Yes.
like I feel like cooler, more levity as
Mm,
well, lighter. Mm. And it's the truth. That's why I believe it is inevitability that eventually we will all get there. Maybe I'm a little idealistic, I'll admit that. But um, whether it's this lifetime or 10 lifetimes from now, we will all be on this
mm,
wavelength of seeing each other in each other.
mm,
And what's it going to take? Might get a little messy for sure. But I think because this is the truth, it's an inevitability that we will all see this way someday.
mm.
Maybe I'm just a little hippie-ish in that regard.
No,
That's
hopefully
just
you're
how I feel.
right. Yeah.
Hopefully, it's like, why not strive for that? At least that's why I do it. It's like,
Yeah.
why not? Why not? Like at least, as you said, hopefully somebody will get a glance at what could be.
Mm,
So that's my service. That's my offering. I feel in this life is to at least spread a little light to the Dharma, so that others can see the value that I see in it.
yeah.
And that's the least that I can do. And I think you
Yeah.
probably feel the same way. You're in the same path in some way that I'm on, right?
Yes. 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 Absolutely. And you're doing a wonderful job. And I think the dual benefit is that you are growing, right? You would be growing with these conversations, and
Yeah.
right beyond these recorded sessions, the way you would be living your life would thereby be influencing others around you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. You feel the same way? It's almost like a win-win. Like you're growing from the conversations that you've had, and then
Yes.
um,
Absolutely.
taking some others along with you.
Absolutely. And just this uh, I mean, you both from the conversations as well as these as we said, the community around you, and
Mm-hmm.
you gain so much more perspective, um, uh, and then I mean, I don't I'm sure you have that same experience, because now the conversations which I often have offline with people who could be in a very different profession, right? They could be, right, running a multinational company or whatever. And as you unravel the layers, you find out they too are facing the same, the underlying subset, or the superset of problems is still the same.
Yeah.
The fear of not being enough, right? Judging your self-worth, uh, looking for external validation, being afraid that they might not get something else, or being more afraid that they might lose what they have. And
Yeah.
these are just, like, no matter what the covering is outside it, internally this is what all of us are facing, and we are trying to fill that gap with more stuff, and we add on more, and that more gets us into more problem. uh, so one benefit obviously in these conversations is that you can talk to people uh, at a different level, because most of the time, I mean, this is what I did. So when I was in tech or in other stuff, every single meeting I would go into, there was just so much of marketing and sales speak inbuilt
Mm.
into me
Yeah.
that none of it was me, right? It was
Mm.
all right, and it was just, right, two people in the same mold are conversing with each other. Everybody's saying my company is the best, and I'm, this is like the, greatest things since
Mm-hmm.
sliced bread or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And but with these conversations, you start having a more stable footing to have more intimate conversations with others.
Yeah.
And I think that also benefits both parties.
Yeah. And that's just natural, I find too, because
Yeah.
it's not like I do it for that reason. Like, oh, I'm going to go in here and be different. I think this resonance just naturally bleeds into our conversations and our goings on of our
Mm.
life without even thinking about it. Because if you
Yes.
do think about it too much, then you're going to have a bad conversation. So it's just this natural presence and this natural resonance that rubs off in all the goings on of our life, which I'm pretty sure you mentioned in the beginning, right? From this presence from Purusha comes the property in our
Mm.
actions. And it's natural. I don't know any other word to use. It's very
No,
natural.
it is natural. Yes,
Yeah.
it is, and that is the beauty. You don't have to carry 10 different elevator pitches with you.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
it just comes
Yeah, there's
across.
no script.
There's no script. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just natural compassion, man. You ever heard of the Buddhist saying, out of emptiness arises compassion?
Yeah.
Same idea.
Yeah.
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 It's natural compassion. And it does switch the flavor of your interactions with people.
Mm.
For yourself, it's a win for yourself and a win for others. And yeah, it just feels good. I mean, ultimately, putting it very practically, it just feels good to
Mm.
be in not only, from that point from yourself, but in the presence of others that are also. That's the thing
Mm.
too, is it's contagious. If somebody's open enough,
Contagious. Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
get everybody, but if somebody's open enough, it switches
Mm.
on somebody else to be on that wavelength, and it changes the whole circumstance. It changes the whole situation, and that's heaven, man. That's how we create heaven, one person at a time.
Yeah. No, I love that word, contagious. It is. It is. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, truly. There's nothing more powerful than love. I hate to sound corny, but there's nothing more powerful than love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how we change the world, man. It's not through doing podcasts, writing books. It's really just in our day to day interactions.
Yes.
How do you approach it? What's the intention here? Or is there no intention at all? Maybe that's actually probably the best foundation. No
Hmm.
intention here. We're going to be here now with each other
Yeah.
and see what happens. It's tough to do, definitely in the business world, that's for sure.
Oh
It's all
yes.
sales and competition, right? But it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Yes. But I mean, just I mean, so the reason why it is difficult to do in a business atmosphere is because, once you get a taste of it, your entire lifestyle changes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just that, I mean, the concepts are difficult to integrate in a business world. It's just the entire lifestyle. The priorities change.
Yep.
Truth and compassion start having a higher weightage than sales targets, and that cutthroat competition, and which is obviously not right in the capitalistic structure. It's right where the only goal is to increase shareholder value. uh, it's not going to lead to I mean, definitely not an immediate increase in shareholder value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So which there is some misalignment of objectives. But that said, this is why they say the saying is that culture flows top down.
Mm.
So people, right, employees cannot effect a change. But if the top management, the CEO who's running a large corporation, if he gets into this mindset, then he or she can definitely right make sure that the entire organization is working towards that.
Mm.
uh, Unfortunately, that is not how CEOs are chosen. But this is where we are.
This is where we are.
Yeah.
We have to make do.
We have to make do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the case for all the sages, no matter what
Mm.
time period. It's making do with where you are, but it's always the same sense of seeing. It's always the same moment. It's always the same resonance,
Yes.
whether it's, you know, in 2025 doing this now, or back thousands of years ago when the Upanishads were written. When were the Upanishads actually written down? Do you know?
So, I mean, traditionally, as I said, the the definition is that they were not. I mean, they were not written down; they were revealed to sages. So
Mm-hmm.
it's what they called aparushyam, so not written by humans. But I think historically they usually place it. I think 4,000-5,000 years back is the general
Yeah.
stuff, and it's still, you know, immensely impressive that such a sophisticated philosophy was written and transmitted verbally across thousands of years
Yeah. Right.
before writing was invented, and right, all that stuff came in.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's
Mm. That's the purity of the truth right there.
mm,
Yeah, it's also interesting how it's still so relevant today because it is the truth. The truth never changes.
it never changes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gotta wonder if they knew where or how the Dharma of the Upanishads would evolve into in terms of the accessibility of it, because we all have the ability to tap into it right now, literally within seconds. We can all look it up. You gotta
Yeah.
wonder, like all the people that were doing it through the spoken word, through the generations, if they had the inclination, how it would be preserved in the form that it is now.
Mm,
You know, like how important it was for them to transfer it from person to person back then and to preserve it in that way so that it could reach this time period right now. They probably obviously didn't know at a mind level, but there was probably something intuitive in them that said, we got to keep this pure, you know? Because there's no way that they could conceive of the internet or Google back then. But there was
yeah.
probably something in them that said, this is extremely, extremely important for us to preserve.
Yes, and you know, the thing is that they're quite voluminous texts,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, to take preserve those and carry it across generations, and right, hundreds of generations have passed,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's
Hallelujah. It's a miracle. It really is. Right. It's really miraculous that we can do this, provide commentary, understand it together. We take it for granted because it is so accessible and it's so easy to take in. But it would have been very miraculous to be exposed to the Dharma thousands of years ago. You literally had to know somebody in order to get the transmission.
yeah.
Now, right here, again, it's hidden in plain sight.
Oh,
All of
absolutely.
us have access. So it's all in how we utilize the technology of the times, man. And you either use it for your best ability to lead you to you, or you let it use you.
Yeah, scroll your our reels and TikToks at night, and somewhere fall
The choice
asleep.
is yours.
Choices are
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, Deepak, I think on that note, we can start to wrap it up. This was a wonderful conversation. I don't have
Same here,
anything
Barry.
else left to say.
No, it was
Appreciate
wonderful
you.
chatting with you, and I wish you the best of luck for the work you're doing, and
Same to you.
all happiness and good luck. Take care.
For sure. Right back at you. Do you have anything else you want to say, though, before we wrap this up?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground. I would, I mean, if anybody is still with us after 1 hour, I mean, I'll just reiterate the claim that it's well worth it
Yeah.
to invest some time into it and try it out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We do so much of stuff which takes up our time, and just 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, and just try it out and see where it leads you.
Mm-hmm. Amen. A little bit goes a long way.
Mhm.
For sure. Well, thank you very much again, Deepak.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And peace
Take
and
care,
love to you.
Gary.
And peace and love to anybody that listens to this song.